All right, buckle up everyone, because today we are taking a deep dive into some pretty intense stuff happening over in South Korea.
Yeah, things are definitely heating up over there.
Protests, a potential arrest, and all this is happening in the middle of a snowstorm.
Not exactly beach weather for making your voice heard.
We're getting all this from a report out of vanguardandgr.com, and that's a Nigerian news source.
Interesting. Right off the bat, that tells you this has grabbed some global attention, huh?
Definitely. So let's set the scene here. People are literally out in the snow protesting.
Wow. Yeah, you don't brave that kind of weather unless something is seriously wrong.
Exactly.
Right.
So what is driving them to this point? What's at stake here?
Well, at the heart of it is this figure, Yoon.
Mm-hmm.
He's a former top prosecutor known for, well, being pretty tough on corruption.
Interesting.
And this is key because the protests are stemming from allegations of, you guessed it, corruption within the current administration.
So wait a minute. If Yoon is the anti-corruption guy, why is he the one facing a potential arrest?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It does seem a little backwards.
Yeah, and that's exactly why this whole situation is so explosive. Yoon's supporters, they see this arrest warrant as a way to silence him.
Silence him.
Yeah, they think it's politically motivated, to prevent him from potentially exposing any wrongdoing higher up the ladder.
So these protests, they're not just about Yoon himself. They're about a whole system.
Exactly. They believe the system is rigged, that it's failing them, and they're not going to stand for it.
And this deadline for Yoon's potential arrest, that's what's pushing everything to a boiling point right now.
Right, it's like a ticking time bomb. If they arrest him, his supporters see it as confirmation of their fears, proof that the system is against them.
But if they don't arrest him, well, then the government looks weak.
Exactly. They'd look like they can't or won't enforce their own laws. It's a no-win situation. Talk about walking a tightrope.
It really is a fascinating situation. And it makes you think, why is a Nigerian news source covering this so closely?
That's a great point. I mean, think about South Korea's role on the world stage. They're an economic powerhouse.
Well, yeah, all the tech, all the exports.
Huge exporter. So any instability there sends ripples throughout the global markets.
That makes sense.
Like, imagine if this unrest escalates. That could disrupt supply chains for, well, you name it.
Especially electronics, right?
Especially electronics. So companies worldwide are glued to their screens watching how this plays out. Their bottom line could depend on it.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got allegations of corruption, a key figure who might be arrested, and all of this could send shockwaves through the global economy. This is way more complex than it seemed at first glance.
Absolutely. And what you really need to grasp here is this situation is about more than just one potential arrest. These protests, they're a symptom of a deeper unease within South Korean society.
I mean,
Well, people are asking hard questions. Are they happy with their leaders? Do they trust their institutions? Are they worried about the future? Exactly. Are they worried about the future if corruption is running rampant? This whole situation could be a real turning point for South Korea.
it almost feels like we're witnessing a political earthquake in slow motion.
It really does. And the aftershocks could be felt far beyond South Korea's borders.
So is this just a one-time eruption of anger, or is this a sign of a much bigger shift happening in South Korean politics?
Only time will tell. It's a cliffhanger for sure. But one thing is for certain, this is a situation we all need to keep a close eye on.
Couldn't agree more. Well, there you have it, listeners. A deep dive into the political turmoil brewing in South Korea. Stay curious, keep exploring, and as always, thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
This story is far from over.
Yeah, far from over.